Well, good afternoon. This is a little bit different time for me to be coming to you live. We had a great time seeing One Night of Queen last night at the Colonial Theater. It was a lot of fun. Rich just loved it, because he listened to a lot of Queen. I guess I only listened to bits and parts or something. But anyway, it was a great night. And so, yay. So I am Leslie with LuvINK&Paper. And I just want to welcome back all of my returning friends that have been here before. I also want to welcome any of my new friends that are just finding me or just joining me for the first time, whether it be live or whether it be watching the replay on either Facebook or on my YouTube channel. So if you are new to my YouTube channel and that's where you're watching this, this is a live that I am filming on Wednesday, April 26th. And if you are watching this on my YouTube channel, I sure would appreciate it if you'd subscribe and maybe give this video a like, maybe toss me a little comment. Those would all help greatly. All right. So we are going to play with a bundle that is in the current mini catalog. Okay, it is. So we're going to play with this Petal Park. Let me just get this piece out of the way here. This Petal Park bundle. Okay, so I have the stamp set and the punch. Now, the stamp set and the punch will both be carrying over into the new annual catalog that starts on May the 2nd. However, it will not be offered as the money-saving bundle in the new catalog. That generally only happens in the very first publication that a stamp set or a bundle appears in. Okay, so anyway, so if you want it at the bundled savings, you need to act soon because we only have till next Monday. So that's, I don't know, 5 days, 6 days, something like that. All right, so you may wonder, how do card makers or scrapbookers choose their palettes? What colors are they going to use? Okay, I have a couple of ways. One is I look at if I'm using designer series paper. Let me just see if I still have a package right here. And I do. So this happens to be the Hello Irresistible 6x6 designer series paper, and it lists all of the colors that coordinate with it. So that's a great place to start if you're not sure. Even if you're not using that designer series paper, even if, you know, just knowing that those colors will go together nicely. Okay, so that's one way. Another way is Stampin' Up! Has made a color coach available as a download, and I will be sharing that in my newsletter probably sometime next week after the catalog goes live, and you'll be able to download it. And and I just printed it on our basic white cardstock, and then I cut pieces of cardstock that were I'm pretty sure I did 3 1/4, yeah, by 4 1/4, so that I have a piece on the back to put next to each other and see how they look. Okay. I also made sure that I knew where things fit in the color families. So Orchid Oasis is part of the 2022-2024 in colors, and Boho Blue is one of our new 23-25 in colors. Okay, so I'm going to be playing with some of these colors. I chose Old Olive as my green, and I chose Orchid Oasis and Boho Blue as some of the colors that we will be playing with. And we may even throw in a little fresh freesia. okay? Since that shows up in this color palette as well. So that's how I do that. So let me show you something else before we get to the stamping. And that is, how do you take and make sure that a stamp that is designed to go with a punch is going to line up for you, okay? So what I do is I hold my punch and I go, okay, well, it's going to want to go pretty much like that. So I am going to put it on my block like that so that when I stamp it, I'm not wasting a lot of cardstock, okay? And the other thing I wanted to show you is this. So both the detail and the fill-in are kind of wobbly stamps, okay? And they require a fairly large block. So what I do is I toss it down on my table and let it take the shape that it naturally wants to be in. And then I just pick it up with my block. That way, I'm not stretching it out of shape or something and not being able to line it up. Okay, so we'll just very gently let that fall into place. That should line up together. And we'll do a little test on some scrap paper, but it should line up. And here is our fill-in for, all right, for this one. So we'll just grab another D block. It's a good thing I have lots of blocks. All right, so we want this one. There we go. About like that. That should line up there. All right, so let's see here. Okay, we have some cardstock there. Perfect. All right, so we are going to start with our leaves, I think, because it's a nice big set and you really don't need a whole lot of other stuff. And you'll see once we stamp the outline, you will get, it will be very easy to see where the flowers go, although you can sort of add them wherever you want. Okay, let me just make sure. Yep. And I think we're going to stay sort of near the top, so I have room at the bottom for a greeting. Okay. We'll just give it some pressure, and I just like to kind of push for a second or two and just let that ink move from the stamp to the paper. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to grab a piece of scrap paper and I'll have it just over here on the side, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp off. You may not have realized, you may have thought, wow, that's a lot of, they have 50 colors. That's a lot of stamp pads to purchase. Well, it is, but you don't have to get them all on the same day. And you can get a couple of tones out of one stamp pad. So I just stamped off onto the scrap paper. So that just removed a little bit of the ink. So now when I stamp, and I am going to have to stand up, and I hope I don't put my head right in your view. I will try really hard not to, but it's tricky to get everything to line up if you don't lean straight over the top. That looks probably about as close as I'm going to get. And if it's not perfect, it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so then we push a little bit on that. And I see that my friend Doreen is here watching. And I see that there are a few other friends here watching too, so welcome to you. There, so see how that filled that in, but it's not as dark as it was in the beginning, which gives us two different colors from the same ink pad, which is pretty great. All right, so let's add some flowers, and let's add them in our new color, boho blue. Okay, so again, I'm going to need my scrap paper here, and I'm going to, and I'm not going to stamp it on that. I'm going to stamp it on this so that I can punch it out. Okay, so let's look again at how that punch is going to go. So I want to hold my stamp pretty much like this and down here near the edge. And that should line up with that punch. If I have to do a little trimming, once in a while you have to trim off a corner or something, but usually it's not too bad. Okay, so now we'll move the punch. We'll get some boho blue on here. You know what? That might be the first time. Sometimes when you're using, oops, let's not put boho blue on my thumb. Sometimes when you're using a stamp and you haven't used it a whole lot of times, especially the photopolymer ones, you sometimes get, there's sometimes a film left on them from manufacturing, and so you sometimes have to just give them a little wipe, and that usually solves the problem. Okay. There we go. Oh, those look pretty. I like those. Might want to do one more set because I might want some for the inside. So we're going to stamp this way, like this. And then we're going to grab this one. And we're going to get rid of a little of that ink. And then we're going to fill these in. And there is another way to fill them in, and I'll show you that too, without lining up the two-step. This is two-step stamping because you're first doing the outline and then adding the fill in, but there is another way to do that. In fact, let me just show you real quick. So you quickly just ink up your stamp here, okay? And I want to make sure, there we go. And my scrap paper can go away for a minute. So then we have something called blender pens. Now those are a little bit different. No, they're a lot different, sorry. They're a lot different than our blends markers, the alcohol-based markers. This is just it's a clear liquid, and it just moves some ink around. So you'll see if I start at the center where there's a lot of color, and I just move that out. It's a light color, so it may not be real noticeable. And it's not moving as much ink as I thought. There are times when it will move a lot of ink. The other thing you can do is give your stamp pads a little squish, and you end up with a little bit of ink in the inside. And you can really lighten that up like this, okay? And then you can start in the middle and work your way out like that. So that's another way to extend the versatility and the usefulness of your ink pads, is to just use them to color. So the blender pens, they come 3 to a package, and they're double-ended, so that's like 6 markers. And you can just keep cleaning them. I'll show you in a sec. Grab my scrap paper again. So you just take a little bit and you just kind of go in like that. Okay, so that's another way to add color if you don't feel comfortable doing that. All right, so then so the tip has some color on it, so you just color until it runs clear. That some colors will stain the tips, but as long as it's clear, you don't have to worry about that. You do have to worry about where you put the cap though. Oh, here it is. Clear cap rolled against a clear block. All right, so let's punch some of these flowers out, shall we? Okay. So you just hold it in there. And then I'm not pushing so hard that it's cutting, but I'm pushing hard enough that the paper isn't moving. So I'm going to just kind of check that. And that looks pretty good. And so we'll punch those out. Then we'll rotate it and we'll do a couple more here. There we go. There. Here we are. So now we have lots of beautiful boho blue flowers. We'll just set that punch out of the way. And we can arrange them however we want. And you might want a combination. You might want a filled in. See, this kind of is big right there. And you might want a smaller one over here. And then you might want the littlest one. You can put that one right there. And that one doesn't have to be colored necessarily. Okay. Yeah, I think that's good. Now, it will make these a lot more interesting if we put some of them up on dimensionals. So we'll put this one up on dimensionals right here. And we'll put this one up on dimensionals. Well, dimensional, I only need one, really. And then I think this one, I'm going to use a glue dot. Now a glue dot will give you a tiny bit of dimension, but not as much as a dimensional. Okay, so you're gonna, it's a little thicker, and especially if you fold it over on itself. I'll just grab my, take your pick tool and just kind of lift that like this and just kind of lay it on top of itself, and then put this on top of that. And that way you get a little bit more dimension. That's not super flat, but it's also not, it's not as high up as these. Okay. All right. So let's see what we might want to do about this. Now see how this is a little bit lighter than our Orchid Oasis? I really like that look. And that's how, you know, when our things shows Orchid Oasis and Boho Blue, it shows that, yeah, they go together. They're nice. They complement each other well. All right, so I have another piece. Oop, that's Starry Sky. I don't think I want to use that. Well, there's another piece of Orchid Oasis. I knew there was another one around here. Okay. And I am going to that, and I'm going to this. Ooh, have all kinds of pieces and parts. Okay, so, whoa, sorry about that loud noise. All right, it fell right out of my hand. So you will probably notice that this particular stamp set does not have any sentiments in it. So one of the great ways to get started if you're new to stamping is to choose an image set that you love and then pick a versatile kind of greeting set. Hang on, I've got one right over here. So this is Very Best Occasions. So we have grateful, we have love and comfort, so sympathy, we have a birthday, thinking of you, you make my life happier, there's a Christmas greeting, another Christmas and New Year, lots of great greetings and sentiments. So let's see, oh, the happy birthday is not in here. Haha. That is because I used it at class. All right, hang on. That means it's already on a block. Okay. Here we go. All right. So I actually think that thinking of you will be really nice. Some people like to stamp all their greetings in black. For me, it kind of depends. I think this will look, I'm going to choose this Thinking of You. I love the mixed font, so this has the very scripty thinking and then the typed of you. There we go. So then when I'm adding things to my card front, I don't want too much bulked up because then you might end up having to pay extra postage, and you want to kind of avoid that, okay? So what I usually do is either put this up on dimensionals and this flat, or the other way around. I think this time I will put the white, the basic white layer on with dimensionals. I like to use up all the edge as well as the hexagonal. That's how you say that word. I knew it would come out eventually. The hexagonal pieces are great, but you can also use all those little pieces around the edge. Just cut them up. There we go. And we'll just use a little liquid glue. So you can kind of experiment with different adhesives and find the one you like best. There we go. And I'll just give this, I've pre-scored this. So my card base is the sort of standard half sheet of 8.5 by 11. So it's 5.5 by 8.5. Folded in half, which gives us a finished size of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And this is 4 by 5 1/4, and that will go right on there. Again, I think I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue. I'm going sort of close to the edge. I'm not squeezing hard, and I'm using just a little bit of glue. I do want it near the edges, but I don't want it so much that it's going to squish out, because that particular glue dries tacky. You can use it a couple of different ways. So then let's add some pretty little gems. What do we have here? We have the iridescent pearls. Those are very pretty. Let's use a couple of those. And I'll just tighten that up a little bit. And grab, I think we'll put a little one right over here. And when you're adding your embellishments, you want to try and stay in odd numbers. So I've got one down here. I'm going to put one of the larger and another of the smaller up here. So you kind of want to have there's an art rule of threes or odd numbers. You want to try and stick to that. For some reason or another, our brain likes it better. I'm not sure why, but it does. All right, so there's that. And then I would put a little bit smaller piece of white on the inside, but let's do some flowers here. Let's just do those. Yeah. And because I'm not going to punch them out, it doesn't matter. You know what? I'm going to grab that scrap paper again. I try to keep my neat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this bigger flower in that corner, and then I'm going to turn this, and this should still have some ink on it, and I can put this little one up here in the corner, just a little bit lighter. And do I want this? I think I do. There. So one colored, one not colored for the inside. And I was stamping with friends yesterday, so, no, Monday. Monday I was stamping with friends. And we had a great time. But I left my other adhesive over on the other table, so that's why I'm using more liquid glue than I typically do. I typically use my seal. I don't happen to have that right here with me. All right, and so I don't muck up the inside of my card, what I sometimes do is press from the back so that you don't end up with, you know, if you had any ink on your fingers, you don't end up smearing it all on the inside. So there we go. How did we do? Well, we did just fine. We're just in under the half-an-hour mark, which is beautiful. So I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope you liked the sneak peek of the new boho blue. And remember that this is a bundle right now, but it won't be in the next catalog. So if you are thinking that you probably should be adding this to your stash, you probably want to get it sooner rather than later so that you can get both the punch and the stamp set together and save that 10%. Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me. It was lovely to have you. I will upload this to my YouTube channel here tonight when I get home. And I look forward to visiting with you again soon. The next time I will be live will be our catalog launch next Tuesday. So that's pretty exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. And I'll be sharing that new catalog launch with a friend of mine. So my friend Doreen from It Begins with Ink and It begins with ink and paper, I think. Sorry, Doreen. Anyway, she and I are going to each do a live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week so that you guys can get acquainted with some of our favorites in the new catalog. So, so be watching our Facebook pages and newsletters and that sort of thing for more information. Okay. All right. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Looks like we may be able to get some fun things done outdoors. And it doesn't look like we'll be having to dodge too many raindrops this afternoon. So enjoy that. And I will see you next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.